From DHL cargo plane skids off the runway and breaks into two, and the Osprey aircraft lost control during landing at the last moment, to the massive plane crash of Navy plane in 1951 and much more, here are the craziest plane landing failures caught on camera. On June 23, 1951, U.S. Navy Commander George Chamberlain Duncan, a World War II ace and a test pilot, was flying an F-9 F-5 Panther jet fighter on the USS Midway, an aircraft carrier in the Atlantic Ocean. He was testing the latest version of the Panther, which was the Navy's primary jet fighter and ground attack plane in the Korean War. He had successfully launched and landed on the carrier once, but his second landing attempt went horribly wrong. The video shows Duncan approaching the carrier from behind, aiming to catch the third arrestor wire on the flight deck. However, just before reaching the deck, his plane drops below the correct level, possibly due to an air pocket. Duncan tries to pull up, but it is too late. His plane hits the edge of the deck, known as the round down, and breaks in two. The rear section of the plane explodes in a fireball, while the front section, with Duncan still strapped in the cockpit, slides and rolls down the deck in flames. The video also shows the sailors on the deck rushing to put out the fire and rescue Duncan from the wreckage. Remarkably, Duncan survives the crash with only burns and ear damage. Duncan's crash was one of the most dramatic and widely publicized carrier aviation accidents of all time. It also highlighted the risks and challenges of operating jets from aircraft carriers that were designed for propeller planes. Duncan recovered from his injuries and resumed flying in 6 months. He later became a rear lawyer and retired from the Navy in 1968. He died in 1995 at the age of 78. Cargo jets are aircraft that are designed or converted for carrying cargo rather than passengers. They usually have large doors for loading and unloading cargo, and they can operate in various locations and conditions. Cargo jets are used for transporting goods, mail, humanitarian aid, military supplies, and other types of cargo. A plane crash is a rare and scary event, but sometimes it can happen because of a mechanical problem or a human error. That's what happened to a DHL cargo plane in 2017. It was a Boeing 757-200 that was flying from San Jose, Costa Rica to Guatemala. It was carrying some packages and mail, but nothing too important. The plane had a problem with its hydraulic systems, which help control the plane. The pilot had to turn back and land at the same airport, but landing was not easy. The plane was too fast and too heavy. It could not stop on the runway. It slid and spun and hit the other side of the runway. The plane broke in half and caught fire. It was a huge mess. We have a video that shows the whole thing. You can see the plane coming down with smoke coming out of it. You can see the plane split in two and the fire spread. It's insane. The good news is that nobody died in this crash. The bad news is that 3 people were hurt and the plane was destroyed. The airport was closed for a while and the other planes had to go somewhere else. USS Green Bay, LPD-20, is a San Antonio-class amphibious transport dock. She is the second ship of the United States Navy to be named for the city and bay of Green Bay, Wisconsin. She can carry up to 800 Marines and various aircraft and landing craft for amphibious operations. An MV-22 Osprey is a special plane that can fly like a helicopter or a plane. It is used by the US Marines to carry people and things. On August 5th, 2017, one of these planes was flying from one ship to another in Australia. It was part of a training exercise with the Australian Navy. But something bad happened on the way. The plane hit the second ship and fell into the water. The plane broke and caught fire. We have a video that shows the plane hitting the ship. The aircraft seems to be approaching the crowded flight deck of the transport dock ship normally when it suddenly drops, smacking its left engine nacelle onto the deck while pitching and banking dramatically. The Marine recording the landing from around the ship's hangar bay realizes just how bad the situation has become and takes off running before it cuts off. 23 people were saved, but 3 people died. They were Marines who were doing their job. They were brave and loyal. An investigation found no pilot error in the 2017 crash, instead attributing the event to potential downwash and insufficient power. Officials at the time said that those problems were analyzed and appropriate corrections incorporated across the Osprey fleet. Landing a plane is one of the hardest things a pilot has to do. The pilot has to be very careful and skilled to bring the plane down safely. Landing is very important for the people on the plane and the plane itself. The pilot must ensure the plane goes down smoothly and slowly onto the runway. But sometimes things can go wrong. That's what happened on May 5th, 2019 in Moscow, Russia. A private jet had to make an emergency landing because it was hit by lightning. The plane landed very badly and caught fire. We have a video that shows the plane landing on fire. You can see the fire coming out of the wings and the back of the plane. The plane stops and 2 doors open. People slide out and run away from the fire. Fire trucks came and tried to put out the fire, but it was too late. The fire was very bad and killed 41 people out of 78 on the plane. One of them was a crew member. The fire started because the plane landed too hard and broke its fuel tanks. The fuel leaked out and burned. The fire destroyed the plane. This was a very sad and scary accident. It shows how one small mistake can do massive damage. It also shows how hard it is to land a plane in an emergency. The people who survived will always remember this day. The new year is a special occasion for many people. They make new resolutions, set goals for the year, and hope for the best. However, not everything goes according to plan. This was the case for 400 people in Tokyo who faced an unexpected situation. On the 2nd of January 2024, a tragic runway collision occurred at Haneda Airport in Tokyo, Japan, between a Japan Airlines passenger plane and a Japan Coast Guard plane. The passenger plane, an Airbus A350, was landing from Sapporo, while the Coast Guard plane, a de Havilland Canada-8, was on a relief mission for the Noto earthquake. The accident resulted in 5 fatalities and 15 injuries. The Coast Guard plane had 6 crew members on board, of which 5 died and 1 survived. All 379 passengers and crew members on board the Japan Airlines flight survived the accident. There is also short video recorded by passenger from inside. It took almost 3 hours for after the initial impact to extinguish the aircraft. Both the planes were completely burnt, as we can see in the video. The accident raised questions about the safety and coordination of air traffic at Haneda Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world. The accident also sparked grief and sympathy for the Japan Coast Guard crew, who were performing a humanitarian task when they lost their lives. The Japan airline evacuation was praised as a remarkable feat of professionalism and courage. On October 4th, 2023, a FedEx Boeing 757-236 cargo plane operating as Flight 1376 from Chattanooga to Memphis experienced a landing gear failure shortly after takeoff from Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport in Tennessee. The crew of 3 pilots declared an emergency and decided to return to the airport. They requested a flyby to check the status of the landing gear, which was confirmed to be not extended. The video shows the plane approaching the runway 20 from the south, with sparks flying from the belly as it makes contact with the ground. The plane bounces slightly and continues to slide on the runway, leaving a trail of fire and smoke behind. The plane eventually skids off the end of the runway and comes to a stop between the runway and Jubilee Drive, a nearby road. The video also shows the emergency services arriving at the scene and spraying water on the plane. Amazingly, none of the pilots were injured in the crash landing. The crash landing of the FedEx plane was one of the most dramatic incidents involving a Boeing 757, a popular medium-range jet airliner. It also raised questions about the safety and maintenance of the landing gear system, which was found to have a leaky hose and a faulty wiring. The Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board launched an investigation into the cause of the accident. FedEx issued a statement saying that the crew was safe and that it was cooperating with the authorities.
If you like this video and would like to watch a similar one, click the on-screen link now. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.